With so much going on in the world right now, people need to have a safe space to conversate, a place to release those emotions, fears, or questionable thoughts that can consume our minds and take over our peace if we don't have a safe space to release them. So, in today's episode, I'll be discussing how to create a safe space to communicate. Hi, welcome to You Can Talk. I'm Ruth Vinny, and this is a channel solely dedicated to helping you talk your way to healthier relationships. Whether you're married or dating, or if you're struggling to communicate with your family or friends or people you work with, then this is the channel that'll help you experience some real change. If you're willing to put some simple principles into practice, meet me here on Thursdays. Become a part of this talk community by subscribing to You Can Talk and walk with me through the user's manual as we discover some revelations in communication that you can incorporate into your life so that you can talk your way to healthier relationships. Now, I know this is not the case for everyone, but when I think of a safe space, my childhood home immediately comes to mind. For me, when I was home, there was always a sense of peace and comfort and safety that would come over me. It was the first place I could go and not feel like I had to be anything other than myself because I was accepted for who I was and for who I wasn't. I could even be gone sometimes for days or weeks at a time, doing one thing or another, and yet home was always present for me, welcoming me back with open arms. My room, it was inviting, full of light and all the things that I loved. And home was the place that I could always receive wise counsel and leave with some kind of advice or some sense of direction and assurance that everything would be okay. However, as I got older and I moved away from home, I quickly realized that I couldn't depend on my parents the way I used to. And yeah, that brick and mortar house that I grew up in would one day belong to another family. So I began to look for another safe space. A place that would have the same qualities of being familiar and accepting of me. I needed just it to be present, inviting and comforting. And for me, that started with seeking something deeper with our manufacturer on a level that I hadn't really known before. So when I really began to accept and acknowledge the God that I had chosen to be Lord over my life, I realized that I didn't really know him, at least not for myself. And I mean, how close can a relationship ever really be if you don't take the time to get to know a person? So I sought to find that safe space for myself with him. I knew he had left this user's manual here for us, so I set out to do one of those read the Bible in a year plans, which took me way longer than a year. And I really began to dig into this living word. And all I can say is, wow. I was blown away to have this direct portal into the sacred space of God. It reveals so much. It was hard to take it all in. I found so many answers to my questions, like why he made me, what my purpose was, how he left treasures within me to share with the world, and most importantly, how he created a safe space for us to talk to him directly through a form of communication called prayer, and even how to pray. But the thing that really captivated me about prayer was within this sacred space, I found acceptance, a place to go and be heard, a place that I could release every emotion, and a place to ask for whatever I needed. All I had to do was come to him, give him precedence over my life, and he would hear me and I would be accepted. He is the place I go whenever I'm overwhelmed with life or burdened with responsibilities, shackled down with fear, and just trudging through each day with uncertainty that relief will ever come. In Matthew chapter 11, verse 28, he says, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." However, the best things I found in this sacred space with him was the comfort of peace and joy and wisdom and unconditional love. Romans chapter 8, verses 37 through 39 says, "No, in all these things we are more than conquerors through him who loved us. For I am sure that neither death nor life, nor angels, nor rulers, nor things present, nor things to come, nor powers, nor height, nor depth, nor anything else in all creation will be able to separate us from the love of God in Christ Jesus our Lord." All that being said, I began to appreciate all the times and areas in my life that I had a safe space to express myself and just be who God created me to be. And then I realized that I could create the same space in my relationships with others. Our relationship spaces are polluted by things like the words that we use, words that are demeaning. We'll say stuff like, "Who do you think you are? Nobody cares about you." Or sometimes we'll use words that are just belittling. "Don't worry about it. We got it. This is out of your league." Or we'll use words that are controlling. "You do what I tell you to do when I tell you to do it, and you keep your mouth shut." And when we're not doing that, we'll just say negative stuff, questioning their thoughts or actions, using their words against them, and even repeating things to others that they've shared with us in private. And when we're not saying negative things, our expressions reveal that we are unaccepting. We frown up, roll our eyes, smack our lips, and other times completely turn away from the person speaking to us. We also pollute our space with the way that we react to the things being said. We'll have an explosive response and say things like, "You're lying. I never do that." We don't acknowledge what's being said and say things like, "Whatever, you don't know what you're talking about." Or we'll just detach or withdraw by walking away with no explanation just because we don't like what's being said. We also pollute our space with judgment and criticism in response to the words of another. "How could you say something and think something so stupid? Just shut up. You're always ruining everything." And don't forget the sarcasm. Well, that couldn't have gone any better. Or even the way we like to throw shade. Let them speak to the situation. They seem to know the answers to everything. So how can we stop polluting the communication space in our relationships and turn it into a safe space? Well, first we can get familiar with whoever we're struggling to communicate with. Get to know them deeper, study them, get to know their likes and dislikes, their patterns of behaviors, and the things that trigger certain reactions. Even get to know their love language, their culture, their religion, or their family. Do whatever is necessary. The more we familiarize ourselves with a person, the more we can begin to understand them, learn how to approach them, and figure out how they communicate or why they communicate the way they do. So when we conversate, we can respond in a way that keeps the lines of communication open. Next, we can accept people for who they are. Look, whether we agree with how people live their lives or not, everyone is worthy. Everyone deserves our respect. You don't have to be best friends, but keep your facial expressions together and your body language under control. Release the judgment and leave that to God. Matthew chapter 7, verses 1 through 5. It says, "Judge not that you be not judged. For with that judgment you judge others, you will be judged. And with the measure you use, it will be measured back to you. Why do you look at the speck in your brother's eye, but do not consider the plank in your own eye? Or how can you say to your brother, 'Let me remove that speck from your eye,' when look, there's a plank in your own eye? You hypocrite! First remove the plank from your own eye, and then you will see clearly to remove the speck from your brother's eye." We also need to be present. Whatever time you have with a person, give them your full attention. Don't be in your phone, watching TV, mentally distracted, or even manipulative in trying to control the conversation. Allow people to say what they need to say, but don't be afraid to set boundaries when necessary. You can say stuff like, "I know you want to talk about this issue, but this is personal for me, and it's not a topic that I feel comfortable in sharing with you." We're not required to be an open book. We just want to make sure that when we ourselves or the other person feels the need to talk, we have a safe space to share what needs to be spoken. We can also be inviting. Think about how you would greet a dignitary or a child. Be welcoming to conversation. You can say things like, "You look troubled. Is there something you need to get off your chest? If so, I'm available to listen whenever you're ready." And lastly, be comforting. Let your language be kind or loving, peace-filled and positive. Leave people uplifted and allow your words to be the light of God's love that draws others in and not pushes them away. Though I grew up in church and knew a few Bible stories and even how to pray a few repetitive prayers, everything I ever knew about our manufacturer is what others had told me. I never really took the time to get to know him for myself. I mean, sure, I had some encounters in my life that I knew he had intervened and revealed his presence. I couldn't deny that. But I couldn't say emphatically that I really knew him. And I wanted to be able to call on him, depend on him, and know how to get in that sacred space with him and recognize when he was talking to me. And I wanted to be able to intimately call him Father, the way I heard so many others do. But I didn't know this God because we didn't have that kind of relationship. Unfortunately, this is the same kind of mistakes that we make in our relationships with others right now. We don't take the time or even give ourselves opportunity to get to know people that we're in all kinds of relationships with. However, when we learn to get familiar, be accepting, be present in conversation, be inviting to others, and learn to be comforting, incorporating these types of trusting dialogues into our relationships creates that safe space for communication to flow. And the better we're able to communicate, the healthier our personal relationships and work relationships can become. If you can relate to any or all of these communication struggles, and you're tired of the seemingly endless cycle of communication barriers that are keeping you from the relationships that you desire to have with others, then become a talker. Subscribe to You Can Talk. Select that notification bell down below and meet me here on Thursdays for the next episode where we'll be discussing more ways that we can talk our way through these trying times. Leave a comment below and let me know what will be your tip of the week or your talk-inspired practice that you're willing to commit to working on. Whatever it is, I'm rooting for you and praying for you because you can tame the tongue, approach with compassion, listen deeply, knock down the barriers, and talk your way to healthier relationships. Let your communication be the light of God's love that the world so desperately needs to hear. Thanks for watching, and if you would, please like and share this video, and I'll see you here next Thursday.